We have a kicker crisis on our hands. Velus Jones Jr. is set to make his debut tomorrow. What's up, guys? Swifty here with some Bears news and updates. Let's get right into it. 3 players have been ruled out for Sunday's game. Jalen Johnson, Dane Cruikshank, and David Montgomery will all miss the game versus the Giants. Matt Adams and Ryan Griffin are both doubtful and will most likely be out as well. Cairo Santos has missed the last 2 practices as well. We will dig deeper in that in just a minute because it seems like we have a kicker crisis on our hands. Some good news on the injury front though. Roquan Smith, whose hip looked fine last week, was a full participant in practice Friday and has officially been removed from the injury report. He seems good to go. And also, Velus Jones Jr. practiced in full yesterday after being a limited participant for 5 straight practices dating back to last week. Velus, our 3rd round pick out of Tennessee, is set to finally make his NFL debut this weekend. I'm hyped to see V12 on the field. He brings another dynamic to our offense with his speed and run after the catch ability, and also brings that dynamic to our kick return unit as well. I think Velus is going to be a good player. My V12 breakdown I did in the offseason is my #1 most watched video so far that I've ever made, getting somewhere around 35,000 views. I'm ready to see him on the field. I don't expect us to suddenly throw the ball 40 times or anything, but I do think the coaches have been missing a guy like Velus from this offense. He should have a couple of manufactured touches, and he is a guy the defense cannot ignore. Honestly, Velus Jones Jr. and N'Keal Harry have been the 2 guys I've been most excited to see in this offense, and neither has played a single snap yet. Velus will be making his debut tomorrow, and the day after that, on Monday, is when N'Keal Harry is eligible to return from the injured list, so there is help on the way at wide receiver. Moving on, the Bears have a situation on their hands with kicker Cairo Santos. He has missed the last 2 days of practice with a personal issue. No details on what's going on with Cairo yet, but there is worry that he will not make the game Sunday. As a kicker, Santos is very underrated and hit the game-winning kick for us last week. Yesterday, Ryan Poles brought in 3 kickers for a tryout: Michael Badgley, Brian Johnson, and Josh Lambo. If Santos is unable to make this one like I expect, we are most likely going to sign a kicker, and the guy I would expect it to be is probably Badgley due to his ties to Velus and Indy. This is something I'll definitely be watching and is potentially worrisome. As fans who have witnessed bad kicking habits, I'm not going to talk about it, we know how important it is to have a kicker that we can count on. In a game where we are projected to win, not having our clutch kicker could definitely cause some problems. Badgley is the one that intrigues me the most. He started 12 games for the Colts last year when Velus was there. He was 18 for 21, converting over 85% of his kicks. The weakness of Badgley's is he's only 3 for 10 on kicks over 50 yards in his career. He's an overall pretty reliable kicker, especially from 46 yards or less. He is a guy who I think could get the job done if needed. Brian Johnson was in camp last year, but he was not that intriguing to me, and it was a different regime, so I don't know if that carries over. And then lastly, there's Josh Lambo. Lambo is not only the most accurate kicker in Jaguars history, but also the guy who sued Urban Meyer for kicking him. Lambo is also a reliable kicker, converting over 87% of his career attempts. Also, he is 16 for 23 from 50-plus yards and seems to have a bit more power to his leg. I think Badgley is the guy I'm more comfortable with, but I would also not mind if Lambo was kicking for us on Sunday as well. Initially hearing that Santos might miss this game caused me to immediately worry, but I think we would be okay with either of those 2 guys. Breaking news, and right as I was going to publish this video, I had to come back in and make a correction because we have just signed kicker Michael Badgley. I knew it was between Badgley and Lambeau. Both are pretty reliable and accurate kickers. Badgley just doesn't have quite the range that Lambeau does, so it looks like it's official that Cairo Santos will miss the game tomorrow, and that Michael Badgley, who was with Coach Eberflus in Indy last year, will be our field goal kicker for the day at least. Hopefully, we hear something about Cairo's personal situation soon. And then next up, also with Monty being ruled out, there's a good chance that Darrington Evans could get called up from the practice squad. Treston Ebner should serve as Khalil Herbert's primary backup and be on change of pace duties. No word yet from the coaching staff on where Lucas Patrick will play this weekend. This one is beginning to be a concern for me. Patrick started last week and played twice as many snaps as Teven Jenkins. We still had a great game on the ground, but not playing our best offensive lineman is a mistake in my opinion. I need to see Lucas Patrick start this game at center and Teven Jenkins get a full game at right guard. This is one of the few situations that I don't see eye to eye with the coaching staff on, at least not yet. When asked about it, Flus said that Tev had a good practice last week on Thursday and Friday, but needs to practice better on Wednesday if he wants to be a starter. Excuse me? We talking about practice? Not the game. We talking about practice on a Wednesday.
Talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice.
Honestly, I understand the culture they are building, but when a guy is your best blocker on Sundays, I don't care as much about what he does on Wednesdays, but I'm not a coach. I'm just a guy who evaluates talent, so I don't know everything that goes into that. Just my 2 cents. But I would love to see Tev get a full game in. I released my all 22 breakdown on last week's game yesterday. Check that out if you haven't seen it yet. I will be back later today with my Bears versus Giants preview. Stay tuned. Be sure to hit that like button for me. And until next time, bear down.
Talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game, talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man.